Hi there, I'm Ry, a technician at 4x4 AT here in Leeming Bar. Today I'm going to show you how to install an SC-Z on a Ranger 2023. This includes the Wildtrak, Platinum, Raptor, VW Amarok. It's all the same, but we're going to install an SC-Z as well as the support J brackets, which are recommended by Ford and VW. So these are the tools that you're going to need. So tool-wise, we're going to need a tie wrap gun or some flush cuts, soldering iron, solder, electrical tape, wire strippers, a knife, long nose pliers, wire cutters, a couple of picks, a couple of trim tools here, a T30, a T40, a 10mm, a 13mm, a Phillips head PH2, half-inch ratchet, half-inch extensions, and a 3/8 extension heat gun or blowtorch, 20mm hole saw, some tie wraps, a deburrer, a torch, and a 3/8 gun, a drill, and a impact driver as well. So we have our SC-Z here. This is how you receive it, as well as our J brackets. These J brackets will come in the box if you have placed an order for them. Upon delivery, we need to check that there's no damage to the exterior of the box, and if there is, then we need to notify the delivery driver of such a thing, and note it on the consignment note as well. This one is in good condition, so we can move on with the installation from here. So on the side of our box here, I just want to draw your attention to this note that is on there. This is in reference to the support bars that are on the pallet inside the box. These do need to be removed before we unscrew the canopy, because failing to do so will damage the paint. So once the box is off, we do need to make sure that we remove them first. So we'll start unboxing the canopy now by pulling the red tape off the side, and then start getting rid of the box. So we've got the majority of our canopy unboxed. Again, we could just check that for damage. There's nothing untoward or visible. So we're ready to move over to our J braces now. We can set the SC-Z aside. It's on the pallet, it'd be fine. We could just pop that out of the way for now. And so we'll do that now. So in our J braces box, the parts that we're going to get is a left and a right bracket, internal left and a right bracket, your bolts and your fitting instructions. I'm going to set these aside because we need to pull out the liner and take off the Wildtrak bar before we do any of this. So I'll pop these aside, and then we'll start by taking the Wildtrak bar off. That's the first thing we want to do. We're going to start by removing the Wildtrak bar, so we'll take these two panels off. There's one here and the other one is located here. I'm going to use our trim tool. We push the panel there, we can get the trim tool in and lever it up, and then pull it down. Once we've got these two panels off, on both sides, there's two 10s which go downwards. They both need to be removed. So there's two on the inside on this side, and there's two on the inside on that side. Once you've got your two bolts, these two bolts that are down the bottom that go downwards, we can pop that panel back on. Just hooks over, clip back into place. Same again, panel back on. So we have our three T40s, 1, 2, 3. You'd be better using a heat gun to try and warm them up. You can try crack them off by hand first, but they've got a lot of Loctite on, so using a blowtorch does heat that Loctite up and they come out far easier. So I'll try and crack it off by hand first, and then use the gun to take the rest of it out, and then use the gun for the rest of it. Same on the opposite side. Our bolts out, which so you're going to have 2 which hold it down here, and then there's 3 here. We've removed them, so this should simply lift off now. We've got our top bar off. Now we're going to do the side bars. So on this panel we have 3 13mm bolts. We've got 1 here, and the 2 are located underneath this black foot here, which are on the underside of there. There is a lot of plastic clips underneath here, but if you use long nose pliers or your hands, you can get the ones on this side of the bed. Unfortunately, the ones on the internal bit of the bed, you can't access them. So you simply just have to pull the panel up. We have our Wildtrak bar now off. We're going to move on to the load bed liner. Again, these have got a lot of Loctite on, so I would advise using a heat gun to warm the bolts up if they're not going to come out. Tend to crack them off by hand first, and then use a gun to get them the rest of the way. But I'll start with the electrical, the load bed lights if they're fitted, and then the electrical panel which has the 12 volt socket on. So these bolts will be taken out. We do need to keep safe because they are going to be going back in. And then I'm just going to put a tie wrap through this hole and round that back of that wire, so we don't lose that down there. We're going to take the tie down points out now, which are the T40s. We'll gather all our bolts up now and pop them to one side, and then we can take this low bed liner out. We've got the anchor points out and our load bed lights and our electrical connection there. The last thing we've got to do is just remove some trim clips which are located around the bed liner. There's 3 down this side, and then there's some along the front, and then the last 3 are there. Just want to get a trim tool in between them and just pop them out like so. We'll lift out the low bed now, so I'm just going to use a trim tool under the back just to break the tape which has been put on by Ford. We're going to start the J brackets now. So we've got our internal parts. I'm just going to open our bag, and out of this we want the 13mm bolts. Should be 2 for each side. And our bracket, which is going to sit on the vehicle like that. It's going to pick up on our original anchor points, and this gives us our drilling point that we need to put our big bolt through our actual J bracket. So our bracket, 2 to 13mm bolts. These are only temporary bolts. So we're going to use the original anchor points. So we're using our bottom 2 holes. We've got this bracket on here, which gives us our drilling location. This is the same on the opposite side of the bed. So I'm just going to use a marker pen here, just to mark my hole. Same on the opposite side. Now there's a breather pipe on the opposite side of this plate that we need to remove out the way, so when we go through with our drill we don't stab it. So we're going to go to the underside of the car now and unplug that breather. The breather pipe which I'm referring to is on the passenger side and is located under here. So I'm just going to go underneath the car and unplug that. You can see our breather here, and it does have a plastic trim bit which holds it to the body of the vehicle. We're just going to use our long trim tool here just to pry it away from that, because we need our J bracket to slide up behind it. So if you get your trim tool in and then just pull it off the side like so, and our breather tube now moves freely out of the way. Also going to remove a 10mm bolt here. This. So with our arch liner trim pushed back after we've removed our 10mm lower bolt, you can now see our 10 here and our 15 up here. The L bracket that we're going to put in here is going to pick up off these 2 bolts, and then the back edge of it is going to slide up behind that breather, which is another reason we wanted it disconnected from there. So we're going to move back up to the top of the car now and drill our holes, but we're free and we're not going to drill into anything. We're ready now to remove both our brackets because we've got our drill positions. So now I'm just going to use a pilot drill bit, which is a 3mm. Swap over to my hole saw, which is 20mm. So I'm just going to use my deburrer just to tidy up the hole. We've deburred our holes. Now we need to get rid of all the swarf left in the truck. That's just going to go rusty. So I'm going to use a air blower just to blow all that swarf out, and then I'm going to put a bit of paint on just to stop it from going rusty as well. Car's all clean of swarf and we're all deburred, so we're just going to put some paint on just to stop them holes going rusty. I'm going to use some 2-pack paint here. Doesn't matter what colour it is, just as long as that hole is has got sufficient paint around it to stop it from going rusty. With our paint now on, we can put our brackets back on. We're just going to put these bolts in, but again these bolts are going to be coming out later on. Once we've got these in, we'll move out underneath the car and put our J bracket on the actual bed. We've got our brackets here, a left and a right passenger and a driver's side. It does have right hand written on it and also left hand written on it. These all install from on the underside of the vehicle. So we have a 15mm bolt which goes up into the tub and a 10mm as well. So we're going to remove both of them, slide that up, and then put our 15mm bolt up there and our 10mm up through there. So again, this is right hand side, driver's side, left hand side, passenger side. So we'll move around to the driver's side now and install that. So take that 10 out there, push this back, and that will now give us access to our 10 and our 15, which are both up here. Slide our bracket up, get our 15 started, and then our 10. So just before I tighten them, you can see that the pointy bit of the bracket sticks in the up position, where we've drilled that hole. The bolt is going to pass through the inside of the tub to the outside and pick up on this bracket. So I'll tighten our 10, now 15 up. Ready to move up onto the other side of the vehicle, do the same, and then we'll go inside the tub and put our 17mm bolts through. So our bracket here that has left hand side written on it, we're going to slide that in the up position. We just need to make sure that the breather stays on this side of the bracket and is not crushed between the bracket and the bed. So I'm just going to disconnect this breather pipe here, which is pushing that white clip in there from above, and then the pipe will come apart. This will give me a bit of extra room. Slide the bracket up and then I'll reconnect it after. So we can see now I've got a good gap there to slide my J bracket up. Now we'll connect our breather back. It's on the outside of the pipe, so we'll just slide our liner back in. We're ready now to put these 17mm bolts in the car. We just need to remove that collar, slide our spring washer on and our flat washer, and then our collar. These are going to go through that big hole that we've drilled. We've got one to go on that side and one to go in the opposite side. So we're ready to take the 13mm bolts out, these top two, and refit the low bed liner. So we're just going to refit all the anchor points back on. So we're going to start our wiring now. So we'll unbox that. We have our wiring here with 2 Deutsch connectors on. They're going to go on our canopy side. Then we have our brake light, which we're going to extend 2 central locking wires and the red and black to go to our battery. And we have our 6 canopy clamps with 6 covers and some spacer blocks if we need them. So we're going to remove our tail light and pop our 2 wires through there. We do need to deepen our Deutsch connectors first to pass them through the back of the light and up and into the bed. And then the rest of the wiring, the brake and the central locking, is going to come over to the driver's side underneath the tailgate, and we're going to pick up off the tailgate harness for that. We are going to have to extend the brake light because we can't pick up off the original because that is LED and it gets brighter and dimmer with side lights, so we can't use the brake light housing. We're just going to use the third brake light, so we're going to have to extend that. So we'll put the rest of this off. So we're just going to deepen our Deutsch connectors. We'll start with our 4 pin one, getting at the back of that, and then I'll slowly lift out, like so. And then inside of here there's 3 tabs that we need to unplug. Don't worry about the order of these because we can pick it back up off the canopy if you're worried about forgetting which order they were. So we're just going to push tab on the inside and that will unplug there. Like so. Let's pull that off. Now our other one, that's what it's going to look like. So we have our wires. So these 2 here are going to go to our battery, then we have our brake, and we have our lock and unlock signal wires which are there. Now we're going to take out a passenger tail light and pass this up through the bottom of the vehicle, through and into the bed. To remove our light, there's 2 T30s that we have to remove from here. Do that, and then we're going to grab the light. So we're probably going to have to wobble it just to ease it out from the top. And just keep going until it comes out. We'll pass the wiring up from underneath. So with the tail light out like this, you can see where the original wiring comes up for the tail light. So we'll just follow that. So we're going to pass that wiring through the outer skin to the inner part, and between the 2 is a hole, and you should be able to see light up there where this wire can pass. So I'll pass that wiring up, and you can see from the angle that the wiring is coming up and over and then back down. The grommet is going to be a bit of a pain to come through, but it does go through. And then our length is the same as what we had before, about a fist up from the top to there is good enough. And then from there we can start to tie wrap at the bottom as well. Now we have our wiring up through the bottom of the vehicle and into the bed. We can move the central locking wire over to the driver's side and just kick the other one towards the front of the vehicle for now. So we'll go underneath the car and just run that along the back. Our wiring here needs to go over the chassis. We don't ever want to be on the underside, we only want to be on the side or above the chassis, and never to any brake lines or any fuel lines either. we're just going to follow this beam that runs along the spare wheel. So that comes up there, and then we want to come to this side of the plug here. Now this side of the plug is for the tailgate, so we'll quickly run through the wiring. For our third brake light we want the yellow with a grey chase, and then our lock and unlock signal wire again is the grey with a brown chase and the brown with a green chase as well. So we're going to roughly put that to the length that we need, again just cutting off any excess. So I'm going to run this along that beam that runs along the spare wheel well, and then just cut that there, and then I'll splice those in, and then once the canopy's on later on we'll check that they're the right way around before we solder them. I'm going to also run another quick wire using the excess cable that we cut off before from the third brake light down to here as well while we're here, and I can tap into these and check them on the canopy later on. The excess cable here that we cut off earlier on, we're going to reuse now to extend this. So the yellow wire, just cut the connector off. I'm going to use the white wire in the bit that we cut off to extend it. I'll put a bit of insulation tape on the end of it so I don't get confused with the central locket wires under there as well. Pop that down through the same hole, follow the other cable. I'll just solder these up here. That wire there, we're just going to bring up and over, pull the chassis. And then follow the loom that runs along the beam of the spare wheel. The wiring that I've just brought over for extending the third brake light, I'm going to do that one first so I don't get confused colour wise with the other two. So I'm just going to cut that. Remember I picked the white as my feed wire, so that's the one that's going to connect to the yellow with a grey chase. The brown is a dead wire. So just expose that yellow. Now I've got the solder warm. I'm just going to solder this. Just be careful when you're soldering, obviously you're upside down, so try and keep your face away from any drop in solder. Now I'll expose our central locking wires and just put them round for now, and then check the orientation later on when we have it connected to the battery. So I'm going to put brown to green, and I'm going to put white to grey and brown. This is only temporary until we know that they're the right way around, which we'll check later on. So we'll leave them apart like so. I'm going to put a tie wrap up here just to tie wrap them out of the way, and then we'll start running the rest of the wiring to the battery. So these two wires here, we're just going to follow the factory loom down to the battery. Factory loom being the orange and black, which basically just runs the full length of the bed, and we'll follow that and then tie wrap to that. So running this loom, we just need to avoid any brake lines or any fuel lines. Make sure we don't tie wrap to any of those while we're running it down the chassis. So we're just going to run our wiring up the firewall and then round the back of the fuse box, and then we'll come round the back of the fuse box. To get it at the back of the fuse box, just use your palm to push that forward and it'll come and it'll sit behind there. And then for now we're just going to tie wrap that up, make that nice and tidy, and then go to the back of the vehicle, connect our Deutsch connectors in and fit the canopy. And then we'll come back here and reconnect these once we're happy everything's connected. Going to refit our tail light now. We have two location points here which slot in to these 2 points here. Light will go in, locate those two tabs, pop her in, and then put our two T30s back in on the opposite side. So we're going to proceed to removing the canopy now, but just before we do that, we're going to put a bit of protection onto this front spoiler so that doesn't get damaged or touch the pallet. And we have two bars on either side of the pallet which both need to be removed, and then once we've done that we'll proceed to take the canopy off the pallet. So we'll proceed to removing our clamps now. There's two located at the top, and then just below that there's another two, and then down the bottom there's two. We need to remove these top two first, and then proceed to remove the lower ones after that. So now the canopy's unboxed, we're ready to fit that. Just if you grab yourself a friend or a neighbour just to help you lift that onto the vehicle. So we've got that canopy on, we just need to position it for left and right. So we have our, if you look down the side of the vehicle, you can see the front edges, make sure those two are lined up, one's not overhanging, and then at the back we have our edges which are both lined up with the bed of the truck. We're going to marry up our connections again now. From before, we need to make sure we've got our orange watertight seal back on. So I'm going to do our earth and live first. So I match up the plugs, match up my positive and my earth. So once we've got our ends in, we just need to make sure our clips are engaged, and then pop our end cap in. So that's in, and then push our watertight seal back in. So now we'll match up our brake, our central locking wires to that in. So all our colours match, white to white, brown to brown, yellow to yellow. Power matches, red to red, black to black. Now we can put them up and into the canopy. Our wiring's all neat, we're ready to connect to our battery. We're connected up at the back, so just pop that negative on our battery earth. Flip this up and we'll connect our positive. So we're connected there. We can now check our central lock-in and that everything is working correctly on the canopy. So I will press our lock. Our canopy locks, unlocks and unlocks. Interior light in the middle position comes on when the door is open and goes off when it is closed. So we're happy with that. We're ready to solder our connections up on the driver's side and we're good to go. We're ready now to fit our clamps. So our clamps just clip under this section here, goes under that bar and then it goes up and over. We'll put our 2 Phillips in. So we're doing the front, the middle and the back of the canopy for our position. Roughly the middle of the bed is this bolt here, lines up with this section on the liner. Our back one. Now I'm roughly going to go in between the back 2 holes which are on the side rail for my position. Then I'm going to repeat the process for the other 4 clamps and then we'll tighten them up. To tighten them up, we're going to go in like in a Katie corner section. We'll start in one part, then move over to the opposite, then opposite, opposite, and we'll keep going like that until we're fully clamped down. I'm not going overly tight, I'm just reasonably tight. Happy there's the tight. I can now fit my clamp covers into position. So this completes the installation of our SC-Z and our Ranger 2023 with J brackets.